Welcome to Tech Turks. Today I have Dr. Ofrey, or one of the founders of Gerocare. Gerocare is a cloud-based health service provider specifically for the elderly. Welcome to Tech Talks, and thank you for coming on board.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
How did we end up here? How did it end up? What's the story of Gerocare?
It's quite an interesting story, as it was born out of a personal experience. I've been a doctor now for about 17 years. However, a few years ago, in the space of 1 year, my father had 2 strokes. And that's not because there's nothing I could have done. I was simply in another location at the time. So subsequently, my mother called me, high blood pressure, high blood sugar. But there's something she said that jolted me. She said I had neglected them. And up till that point in time, I thought I was the perfect son. I thought that was not possible. But after critically assessing my life, I realized while focused on my family and my business, I had actually neglected this special group of people.
But Ofrey, you know that before I don't want to interrupt you, I don't think I might show this show to my mother. That's what she has been accusing me for a very long time. This is very simple. Carry on.
But we think it's not true, but
yes,
it's actually
yes,
true.
Exactly.
So we now thought to ourselves, this problem is not peculiar to us, but there are millions of Nigerians and Africans living and working far from where their parents are. And the only time they hear anything most times is when something goes critically wrong. And so the question was, is there a way whereby no matter where you are in the world, you can ensure your parents' healthcare needs are met and also constantly remind them that you care? So this brought about what we do now called Gerocare. So we are simply a cloud-based hospital that provides the entire spectrum of care to the elderly at home. We make it extremely easy for Africans within and outside Africa, beginning with Nigerians, to subscribe for regular doctor home visits and home medical care for their parents using the Gerocare mobile application. So they simply download the app and put their parents' details and make a payment. Immediately, these parents are matched to a doctor who lives close by, who begins to visit them at home at least once a month and give us the children real-time updates wherever we are in the world. When I say real-time, I mean when the doctor gets to the house, he checks in. Wherever in the world you are, you know he's there. When he's done, he checks out, you know he has left. You now receive a summary on what they're doing, how they're doing for that day. If they need drugs or tests, you pay via the app and it's delivered to them in their house, ensuring they have the entire experience of a clinic without leaving the house. What we actually realized was that most times when you go to the hospital, the only person you see is the doctor. You don't see the pharmacist, you don't see the lab scientist. So you don't have to be in the same building with them. So we transformed the parents' living room to the consulting room, with the doctor appearing with his application connected to everybody else you need, ensuring you get whatever care you will have received in the hospital, with the added benefits of the children being made aware of what's going on as they live their lives wherever they are.
I mean, getting here couldn't have been, you make it sound so simple now, but what was the journey like to this successful situation that we are in now?
Okay, so interestingly enough, I'm one of the proponents that whatever you do, you need to be full-time. I used to be working in the Bayelsa State government. I was a doctor there. I was a medical director at one of the hospitals, head of medical services for their Bayelsa health insurance scheme. And so when I tendered my resignation, people thought there was something wrong with me, in the sense that the person I submitted it to refused to submit till she informed my parents and all those I knew to talk to me first. But I knew the reason I was doing what I was doing. People always say, why are you so forward in what you're saying? But because each time I get home, I see the result of what can happen to you if I don't push forward in what I'm doing. So there was the why was extremely strong. So I was able to break, limitations that others may not have been able to, because I knew why I was doing what I was doing. And like with many other businesses, it started very rough, and it's still quite rough to an extent, because as most other startups, many of the founders and co-founders may not be as mature and have families like we do. So it was a huge sacrifice focusing on Gerocare and still being able to try and cater for your family, knowing that the funds coming in may not be enough to sustain you and your family. So that was a tough decision. So we basically, from the outset, normally they say bootstrap first before you raise, but we could not bootstrap because we needed to earn a sensible amount of money to ensure the livelihood of the founders is still a semblance of what it's supposed to be based on where we're coming from. So we started fundraising quite early. We launched Trade from Ventures platform in Abuja in June 2017. So when we arrived there, it's interesting because they accepted us based on the trust of the team. But I had run this service without the technology and all those things before retiring from Bayelsa State government as an offline service. Just me seeing 20 elderly people at home. So the children paid me to see them. It was much more expensive then. To register was about 50,000 every month to pay 20K. But that enabled me experience the service firsthand and know how it's supposed to be and what's supposed to be done.
That's actually interesting. Do it offline first before you you leverage on technology.
My plan was not to go to tech. It was just a normal organic change in the way it was.
Okay.
Because from the feedback I was receiving, I knew this was of value. I needed to get it out to a lot more people than the people currently experiencing it. But I had a small personal tragedy in between, and so I had to stop a while. But when I was coming back, I realized, no, I can't come back the same way. Fortunately, discussions had been ongoing already with my co-founder, and then we brought in our tech co-founder also, who was able to scale it nationwide as we have at the moment. So the key takeaway here is the fact that, it's going to be extremely difficult, but what I tell people is as long as the why is strong enough, if it's something you'll be doing, even if the money is not coming, you're more likely to succeed because eventually the money will come. I had a mentor that told me, just hold on, the Calvary will arrive. Just ensure you stay alive. And that's basically the truth. If you stay alive and the why is strong, the Calvary will finally arrive.
Today, so just give us some numbers. So like you've been existing for about 2 years now?
Yeah, but just about 2.5 years.
Yeah, 2.5 years now. So how many families are you looking after,
okay,
and what do you intend to get to?
So the number of families basically as pastoral platform is about 912. But what we actually count as evidence of traction is not the number of families, but the number of visits that have been paid for. Yeah. So we have close to 2,900 at the moment subscriptions paid for from inception till date.
So how many visits per month, for example?
So if you pay monthly, it's a 1 visit per month.
Okay.
But the idea is that once you pay for that subscription, you have access to the application. We liken it to the cable networks where there's a decoder and there's access. So the subscription pays for the service, but you have access to the platform, the reports, and all those things. Another interesting thing, the doctor assigned to you is your personal physician. So you can call him in between visits in case there's anything. Many times what the patients feel is an emergency is not an emergency. So when she calls the doctor, he tells her, Mama, calm down, do this, by the next visit we'll see you. But if she calls him and he feels it needs a visit, we get approval from us from an unscheduled visit, so you can still take that visit. It's more than one per month, but normally it's 1 visit a month, but you have access to your doctor in between.
I do understand that seeing the doctor, and first of all, you put the infrastructure in place. That's one. Secondly, I think more important as well is that you've also, the foundation of trust is there. I think the third one is, so are you going to add other services? I know where I'm going to. Are you going to add other services beyond that once a day doctor for you to, should I say, increase the value and increase your revenue streams? All
right, so right now, Gerocare is the one-stop shop for elderly care, no matter what it is. Although our core service are doctors, we are partnered with everybody else that provides elderly services. So no matter what you need, you don't have to go there directly. You can come to us and we actually help you midwife that process and get you value for money. So we have everything, caregivers, physiotherapy, everything on our portal at the moment, but partner with us through other startups. Another thing we're looking at is the idea that the home can be your hospital, primary healthcare center. So not just for elderly, because our doctors right now are primary physicians or primary healthcare physicians that can cater for most things, but we're focused on elderly now. So it means everybody else can have access to this as an on-demand service. So the application will take care of you as on demand, but your parents as subscription, because it's the exact same structure, the exact same pharmacies, the exact same laboratories, the exact same doctors. So right now we are focused more on the elderly because the need is more and the income is a little more predictable as subscription. But this same structure will be leveraged for on-demand care for everybody else, such that we can convert every home to a primary healthcare center. So we see the boundary of the country where we exist as the boundary of Gerocare and every home as the consulting room.
Thank you very much. If there's one thing I've taken away from this conversation, is that your home can also be your hospital.
Exactly.
And we'll continue this conversation offline. Thank you very much for coming on Tech Turks.